Hello everybody, всем привет. Today we're going to talk about the border scrolling and just kind of fixing up some of the mini-map things. This is the original game running in DOSBox, and you can see here you can like move the map around. You can move the map around by dragging this as well, and basically it's when you're over this border, the border serves the function of like slowly sliding it one way or the other. And if we go to the corners, you can do both. You can go each way with the different corners. And so that's the functionality that we're going to build. And I can show you my current build here. So currently this doesn't happen when I go to either of these levels. I have to move this around. This is actually also just a default drawn box, and that's we're going to actually replace that with the correct icon from the RADAR.ICN. And then there's also my default hero selector is actually not working here either. So that's another minor thing that we should be able to fix in this session. But first things first, we drop in this border image. So these black parts are actually like transparent, but when I convert them to PNG for visualization, they show up as black as opposed to transparent image. So drop in a whole bunch of files. A lot of this is UI stuff, render viewport, render UI, some maps, some resources, render utils, mouse, layout, input, UI state, just all of that. And I'm working on a GUI feature, graphical user interface for the non-English speakers. Map scrolling, the viewport, and the minimap. The scrolling is activated by the mouse hovering over the outer frame of the main game window. And it's about 16 pixels deep. And so I basically just explain when you hover over the left side, it moves left. You hover over the right side, it moves right. The corners move both like up and right, or up and left, or down and right, down and left. Just putting that in English, which is the right way to communicate to a large language model about this, and giving it other information, like if it's already at the far leftmost point of the screen, but you're in the upper corner, it's going to move you north, and it can't move you any further left or right if you're already the farthest you can go left or right, for example. And again, I'm just trying to capture the mouse hovering on the border. That's what causes that effect of the screen scrolling. So it has a look. The window is 640 by 480 logical. The border hover zone is the outer 16 pixels of the whole 640 by 480 window, etc. So it comes up with this edge scroll variant. Looks at some different files. Gives me a couple of new variants here. And then before even testing this, because I had this previous bug when I would click on the control panel button, which is like the sixth button over, it would cause it to crash when I was in a higher resolution because it wasn't like it was based. It would display the control panel over a screenshot snap, but the screenshot snap like resolution wasn't being adjusted. So I was just a little gun shy with this one. I was nervous that, hey, maybe it's like if we increase the resolution, it's not going to catch this correctly. And so it says, yep, it's going to be fine. The feature scales when F11. F11 is the button to increase the resolution that I assigned. It's going to scale just like the rest of the UI. And I say, well, it worked for 640 by 480, but when I resized it up one, it did not. So your initial evaluation is wrong. Now I don't remember if I had let's see, this is the wrong build. I think I actually didn't save the build where I got this error. So I think it's actually going to work. But it had to go through this, and it said, yep, I was wrong. Actually, it didn't handle there's an SDL2 quirk where it didn't apply the logical size render scale transform. So when I scale the screen up, let me just get into the game here. When I scale the screen up, like now it's working. But when I scaled the screen up initially, it would work this direction, and it would work a little bit this direction, a little bit this direction, and it wouldn't do anything when I was over on this side. So it was, and that's because it was not reading the screen size correctly because it was still tuned to like 640 by 480, whereas that was like 1280 by 960, that resolution just there. And so it wasn't like adapting correctly. So let's see if it gives us a little summary here at the end. Usually it does. So it translates the event coordinates into logical 640 by 480 space, but SDL get mouse state was the exception. It was returning the window pixel coordinates untranslated. So we basically had to add in a little bit of math to translate that, and then it worked. So mouse window to logical was this function that it used to map whatever mouse coordinates you were giving it with the mouse to detect the hovering. And when we added that function to the input.h, which captures a lot of the mouse input, then it started working. So next, I want to take in the RADAR.ICN. This is really the only thing, but it's basically a mono. I shouldn't have closed the window because I could show you this working too. But it's a mono BMP sprite. So it's basically two colors, black and white. And this gets drawn as black, but in the actual game, it gets drawn as white. I think, yeah, see here, you can see this is now a dashed line here. Let me blow this up a little bit. You can see this is a dashed line now. So when we're moving this around, when we're scrolling around, this is now using the correct thing. Whereas before I had just done a basic, a basic box for this. So that's nice that I'm using the actual sprite image from the game. And I gave it the spec.xml, which we can see it's really small. It just tells us it's a 30 by 30 image. And so it goes in, pulls that out, updates the resources to load. So it loads that image and render map. And what initially happened with this is it decoded it as a full color sprite. So the monochrome versus full color sprites. Back when I was doing sprite decoding like a couple of months ago, I ran into this issue where it would just be like a garbled mess because it was trying to interpret black and white pixels as color pixels, and it would, like, this would just be like a glob of a small box of pixels, and it wouldn't be this nice dotted line box that we have. So anyway, I called that out. I dropped in my ICN files where that decoding was done, and I think it had actually only encountered this in the battle sprites decoding. So my battle sprites, there's a lot of shadows that happen under creatures. Maybe I can actually show you that here if we just go and start a battle here. No, let's fight them. And so there's actually like a shadow here behind these guys. There's a shadow. So these shadows were monochrome sprites in the game. And so that I had to decode those as monochrome sprites. Well, I had actually not decoded anything outside of the battle screens and the battle resources as monochrome sprites. So that radar like locator box was actually the first like monochrome sprite not in the battle screens that I decoded. And so it took a little more work to coax that out of it. And I actually gave it battle resources and said, hey, the mono mode is loaded in battle resources for shadows under sprites. So use that as an example. And then it found exactly what it needed, this mono body silhouette to standard outline, white opaque for color mod. So that's what we're basically doing. It's one of two colors and we just make it whatever color we need. I think in the actual game, it's actually red. I'm just leaving it as white for now because I actually kind of prefer white to red on this, but it's a minor change to just go in and change that color a little bit. So I also threw in image because it was doing something funny with the way it was processing the images. So I just threw that in case it needed it. And then it looked pretty good. And then I was also having one other issue, which would be kind of fun to show. So I'm just going to open up my old build here and load in quickly. So when I click on a castle here, if I do F11 here, actually my locator is interesting. I think it's locating it based on, all right, I just found another bug. Yes. So I can't currently click on the castle. Maybe if I go in and then go back now, does it reset? No, it doesn't. So we'll do it this way. So currently in 640 by 480, this is working. And this is a similar bug to the input bug that we just found. So I can click on the castle here, but again, the mouse is not adjusting when I increase the resolution. The mouse is now not adjusting based on that. Up here, which is like 640 by 480 or whatever, this is where I get the castle, this little block. That's where the cursor shifts. So the cursor transformation is not being adjusted according to this. So that is a cool bug. I had kind of noticed this earlier, but it just clicked right now as I'm filming this. That's why I love making these videos. It actually helps me debug the game. I like the weirdest little things. But anyway, back to what I was going to show you. So I click here and immediately it opens something. I'm like, let's do that again. So I click here and immediately it opens something. So if I click a little bit more over here, it might actually, let's try here. It opens the tavern. And if I click a little bit lower, it's going to open the well. So what's happening is I'm clicking about in this region on the game, like about here. And when I click here, it clicks at whatever it automatically, like in this case, it's the well. If I click a little bit higher, it's the tavern. And let me see if I can do the Thieves Guild if I'm over here. Nope, still just tavern. But anyway, the problem there is that there's some kind of click catching that's happening. So it's automatically opening one of these two when I click there. So usually it's like a mouse down and then mouse up. And so that's what I also wanted to correct on like essentially in this build. So here I'm saying one more thing I want to fix. I've got my tavern screen, and this is actually also happening on the well screen. And I may need to, I actually just noticed the well screen right now. I think I just selected the tavern screen, so I may need to add this in for the well screen. I may need to make a note of that. But I threw in the castle screen, the castle screen function here and the tavern screens, and I'm saying like let's try and figure out what that is, and it's starting to hit this mouse button down or up, and it's calling this out. The castle screen opens on mouse button down, but the tavern hotspot inside the castle screen fires on what event? It fires on mouse up. So the tavern well hotspots So I guess maybe it did fix the well idea, but it's capturing that you would click, you would do the mouse button down click to open the castle screen, but then when it opens the castle screen and then your mouse button up fires, then it opens whatever the mouse is over, which happened to be the tavern or the well. And so that was causing this, in hardware, in electronics, this is called debouncing. When you push a button down, sometimes it causes a little electrical signal bounce. And so this is kind of like the digital version of debouncing. So we're debouncing the mouse up click. And anyway, we go through this. Does a lot of processing, and yeah, it opens on mouse down, and then the other hotspots inside the castle screen fire on mouse up. So we're just adding a swallow next mouse up flag on the castle screen state, and we have those. And then I ask it to make some notes about this, and so we make some notes on a UI input. And then this is the hero selector in the hero locator disappearing sometimes. So I can show you this, like there's no red box around Antoine here. And this is in the, let's see, the castle also here is now highlighted, but I'm actually moving this hero around. So that's actually not supposed to be the case. So when the new game starts, the hero should be highlighted with the hero locator selector, the red box. The first screenshot I'm sharing shows this is not happening. The second screenshot shows a hero, the second hero moving around while the castle is still highlighted with the locator. The second hero, since they're the ones selected and moving around, should be highlighted by the locator. So that's what I'm seeing here. Joe Josh is moving around, but he is not, well, he's not selected. So basically just my selector box is weird, and I go to the castle, recruit a new hero, exit the castle screen, and that hero should be highlighted and selected. I think the rule from all of these is that 1, initially the hero should be selected when the game starts, and 2, when any subsequent hero is recruited from any castle from the castle screen. When the castle screen is exited, then the hero locator moves to the hero in that castle that was just exited, because that is the hero that was just recruited. Fixing that should fix all 3 of these cases. And then at the start of the new day, the selector in the heroes locators, or the selector in the locators focuses on the first hero locator in the first of the list of heroes. The first hero locator in the list of hero locators. That's what I mean. That's not on the castle, but on the hero, and the view snaps to that hero. That seems to be happening correctly in my new day function. So we have a little investigation hero. It doesn't investigate this at bug1 at startup. The selected hero index is never set to match the initially selected hero. So that's easy to fix. Fixes bug number 1. What does it say about bug number 2? We're not here, and yeah, anyway, let's have a look at our next build and see if we have that. Well, this is a later build. I think it should be present here. Let's just have a look. Okay, so now we're seeing that this is now working. And if we go and pick something up with Tyro here, but let's get another hero, Gallant, Sir Gallant, and run him around. Yep, he looks good. We can get a third hero. Is that Agar? Yeah. And run Agar around, and let's just do a new day quick, and it should reset to Tyro. And it resets to Tyro. So that's all looking pretty good. And we fixed a few of those bugs. Let me have a look at what the next bug I worked on was, which this is conditional path rendering based on the showing path flag. So first I'm going to show you what that is in the original game. Let's see what we're looking at here. So if we go into our control panels here, show path is on, right? So this lets us see where we're thinking about going. But if I go in here and I turn show path off, now it's not showing me that path until I'm out of moves. Suddenly when I'm out of moves, then it shows the path. So what this button does, show path off, this turns off the, like your hero's green sentinel and route markers, basically. Some people prefer that. I absolutely do not. That's why I kind of forgot about it until now. But that's the functionality I want to add. And so let's see, do I have the build for this? I think it's this one. So anyway, let me go to my, well, actually you've seen plenty of my first versions of this. So I'm going to actually just show I'm going to pull up the version of this that is, I believe, working. We'll find out if this is the right build shortly. But you know, I'm rebuilding the game, and in the control panel option here, we're going to have this show path off. So let's see. Yep. So this is basically working. Pick up some of that, and then suddenly we can't walk anymore, and then it starts to show us our path where we can go. So that is working. Now let's look at how we got there. So I explained this, and I had to like go and play the game to kind of figure this out and verbalize it again, because the LLM really does need you to explain these things in words. But the arrows may turn green the next day, but any changes will make all arrows disappear until the hero is out of movement points, and then the routes show up as red arrows with a red X sentinel again. So essentially, when that show path is false, we don't create the new green routes, only red routes. Any existing red routes would turn green after a new turn, but any red routes would still be created and displayed as usual. A different way of stating this is if show path is false, any new green paths are not created by a mouse click. Existing red paths that were created on a previous turn may turn green, but any deviations or clicks when show path is false would not show a green route. Show path is false will still allow red paths when the hero has no movement points to be created, and they can still turn green after the hero's movement points are refreshed on a new day, new turn. This should be gating on the rendering. Really, some logic should check if we draw the green routes and sentinels, which is just based on checking if that show path is false or show path is true. The Kavit's corner cases of allowing red paths to be created, and those paths will render as green the next day after the hero's movement points get refreshed. So we go through this. It asks a couple of questions. The routes are tied to the selected hero. And I think that I realized I had a bit of a bug here. If there's a hero persistent route state that I haven't seen. Let me find it before designing anything. Well, the state is actually a single active route. So to this point in the game, I had actually, all the heroes on one player were essentially sharing the same like target sentinel point. So if I clicked one location and I saved like a red route for a hero, then the next hero would actually have like, how to describe this? Yeah, here we are. So this is the routes edition. So I basically ended up adding additional heroes routes for each hero. And I actually have to go back through my older builds and see if I can find what we were dealing with here. All right, well, I'm not finding it digging through my old builds. It's possible I didn't save it, and it might just have been integrated into this one. So let's see what we come up with here. But basically, like I'm just gonna pull up an older version because I know I can demonstrate it. A video is worth more words for something like this. So let's say I want to target that with this hero, and we're going to recruit, let's say recruit Vatana, and now we can switch to him. If we have her move, he's now following his route, and she actually warped to where he was and walked his route. So that's kind of a neat bug that she can warp to where he's at, because essentially there's only one unique route for the various creatures, or the various heroes. So if I do this and then I click on her and I do this, suddenly she's warping to where he's at. Now that's a neat trick, but obviously incorrect. So I do fix that later. I don't remember if I fixed that here, but that's kind of what the AI was calling out, and I hadn't actually noticed that. So, oops, I you know been moving fast, developing this really fast, and I missed some things, and that was one that I missed. So the least invasive robust approach, compute suppression at the point that markers are built, and what this means is it's going to suppress the green, the display of the green markers are going to be suppressed when they're being computed, essentially. And it asks for a little more detail down here. So show path is false. A far click gives a route that's green up to the MP limit and then red beyond. How should it render? You're going to show the whole route, green prefix plus the red tail. So you move like the range of area that your hero can move. If the full route would be green, then it doesn't show anything. If you start to get a partial route, like you have maybe 2 or 3 tiles that you can move remaining in your movement points, you move those 3, or you set a route that's going to move those 3, and then the rest becomes red. It will show the green and the red, even if that function is enabled. So even if show path is false. So that's basically what we're going to do. This makes the changes, exports the files. I just showed you guys it was working earlier. And then we go on and we update the documentation. And that's pretty much it. It talks a little bit about how it renders as well, how it renders the markers and then stops displaying them. And then I'm going to go in very quickly to how we fix the shared hero movement routes, the things that were causing the warping. And I had seen that bug once before and was like, whoa, what just happened? And now in the course of filming this, I'm overjoyed that I discovered that, because that's a crazy bug. That's a crazy bug. Now I believe I've already fixed it by cleaning up this shared the shared hero movement routes, but we'll see. We're going to go through this. So I dump in some of my my hero movement documentation, a lot of the GUI info, and basically I call this out as a moderate sized bug to fix. Each hero should track their movement and route points separately. It should be stored for each hero, but currently the game shares the destination sentinel between all the players' heroes. So if 2 heroes on a team or if I have two heroes and I select a route with one of those heroes, and then I switch to the other hero using the locator, that second hero is now going to be routed to the same location as the first hero. And what's actually even crazier is it will warp to the route of the first hero. So I need to double check that that is also not going to happen. Once we test and once I demo that this is working. So this is not correct. They should each be able to have and store their own path. Doesn't really apply to AI heroes, only player controlled heroes. Heroes each get memory of their path saved, the movement path array for player controlled heroes. Can you take a look and see if we can add in an array for the game state that tracks, stores the route paths independently? These routes should be cleared on dismiss, of course. And then we're also going to have to update the save and load game functions as well if we're storing some data like this, because when you save the game and you load the game, it should remember like what your hero's next day path was or something like that. So it goes through the text. Like this is a lot of the stuff that we, these variables were actually shared across all heroes. This route, the current route, current markers, queued path. So we have to split that into some kind of array per hero. And so it's just absorbs some context, comes up with a design for it, goes through and implements it, and had to continue because it's long. And then I had to drop in my saved game files because we should probably also update the saved game. Yep, so it does that. The only point that's worth persisting is this cached path and markers. It recommends where to put them. I think that's fine in the hero state. How should hero saved routes behave on load? Restore pin destination only and recompute the path. Where should the persistent destination live? On hero state, the simplest, no version bump. Both align with the recommendation. And so like a version bump would be like updating the save game version. And then it recommends actually, you know, we should probably bump it to 3 because the old version 2 files might not have it and we don't want to silently misread those. So anyway, we go through here, lots and lots of back and forth, lots of tokens on this one, and yet another continue before we get any code that we can test. So, and then I had to stop it because the hero sits and waits to start moving again in case a player wants to change their route. Maybe you need new day also. So usually I stop it when I see something that is just obviously wrong. I don't remember what I saw, but I had a reason to stop it and drop in new day. What advanced day does, since new day handling for routes could belong there. I think it was doing something where it was adjusting movement points for every hero in some way that I didn't like. And so I said, no, that only happens when the new day gets restarted. When the new day happens, that's when you refresh. Yeah, so here's what I called it out on. I said, hero sits still and waits to start moving again in case a player wants to change their route. Maybe you need a new day also. So yeah, so what was happening was when the next day starts, the hero like would start moving automatically. And I was like, no, they stand still. They've, you know, they still have their route pinned and mapped out. But like, what if the enemy moved during that opposite turn and you're like, oh, actually, I need to go attack the enemy, or I need to go pick this thing up before the enemy gets it. It will reprioritize your schedule. So potentially. So that's why you don't just automatically start doing that. So that's what I was calling out, and the AI was not really understanding that. And I'm saying, you're hallucinating the original 1995 game behavior. That's not true. Stop doing that. So when a hero has a pinned multi-day route and runs out of movement points partway, the route persists across the day boundary, and on the next day, the hero automatically resumes walking on that saved route. And that is absolutely not correct. The hero does not automatically resume walking. They wait to be told to move by the player. So I call it out, and it's like, you're right, and thanks for the correction. Just this sycophantic AI, classic. So we're going through here, and it wired everything up, and then I said, maybe you need new day also. I was just giving the code. It's not really a suggestion. It was not a real suggestion relevant to the code. So it misinterpreted me saying you need a new day. I meant like, hey, maybe you need to see the new day code. That's me just maybe being a little sloppy in my language to the LLM. So here we end up with the files. We made some adjustments to route and map, and then the saved game files. And then what the heck did you do here? On load, each hero's path and markers are recomputed from the same destination against fresh movement points. The in progress. So it was also refreshing on load. It was treating it like a new day. So when you load the game up, you then suddenly get full movement points again. And just save their movement points. You don't need to refresh it. You do need to save the movement points. Why would you not save the movement points? You're right to push on this. It's just these classic, like, I mean, people have memed this now at this point of how the AI responds to critique. So we do another parse on that, and it looks okay. And I see, of the two options, I said, let's just store the current MP in hero state versus some weird save game load result hero MP vector. I was like, no, let's just save it as part of the hero. And then I also need to make sure the AI, when their position is saved, they aren't getting free movement points. So I throw in the AI code. It does some of that, and we get our updated save things, and then let's just update the documentation. And then I also have to update the manual save path inside control panel to make sure, because we did update the save load stuff. So we put that in, and then this is pretty much everything. So let's go have a look at the old builds and pull this one up. I think this was, let's see, individual hero routes edition is what I saved this as. But I also want to test if we can include that warping bug. So let's get another barbarian here. Yogg, I think that is, right? Oh, Thundax. I always get Thundax and Yogg mixed up, but Thundax, well, Yogg is the green one. Okay, let's switch to Thundax here. Or let's see, let's switch him to his route, and let's see if we can get him to move. So that's correct. They're not warping to each other's routes. Let's see. We have a route set for Thundax. We go here and we click run. He's not warping to his. Here he moves. So that is looking fine. They're able to have independent routes. So we did fix that one. Great success.